Ladies and gentlemen, hi, I'm Bobby Collins. Welcome to Bobby's Viral Friends. Today, I have two wonderful comedians and a lot more. My first guest, you might have seen her on HBO, Bravo, Showtime, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which she's been on for 250 years. Caroline and Friends.
Bobby, it's enough. The show is over. They get it. They either know me or they don't.
Wise ass. Everybody say hello to Miss Caroline Rhea.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
My other guest, he's an actor, he's a writer, he's been doing a lot of voiceovers, but one of the best up-and-coming male comedians I've seen. You've seen him on Last Comic Standing. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Mr. Francisco Ramos.
Thank you, Bobby. How are you? Thanks for having me. Are you locked in the closet right now? What's going on?
Yeah, I know. I've been home now 6 weeks, and I haven't been home for 6 weeks in 42 years.
Wow.
Right. I know. A friend of mine is friends with Sting, and he said Sting hasn't had a day off since 1976. So he's like, wow, this is a whole different world.
So what are we doing right now? What are you doing, Caroline? You're home. You're with your daughter. What's going on?
I'm going to show you my shirt. I know that seems weird.
I like that.
Says, Rise and Shine Club, Woodstock, and it's the groundhog. Because this time last year, I did a show in Woodstock, Illinois, where Groundhog Day was filmed. It's also being filmed in my home, the sequel. But and I stayed in the room that Bill Murray filmed in, and I performed in the opera house that he jumped off of in one of his attempts to end it all. So I just thought this was a good one to wear. And then my daughter's in the corner. My daughter's doing her virtual school. And then, I can't cook, so I've been learning how to cook because my nephew knows how to cook. And, I'm making progress. It's very difficult. What are you doing?
Last thing I heard from her last night, how much toilet paper do you use? You wrap your whole arm in paper. I go, honey, I just want to be sure.
You know what? I really was a big toilet. I think I now understand I had a problem. I was using too much toilet paper. Now I look at it like it's like Benicio del Toro. Enjoy it while it lasts.
What have you been doing, Francisco? What have you been doing?
I want to know about Francisco's microphone.
Oh, well, it's just this is
that's
it's
not
just,
his mic.
That's not it. Yeah, this is the toilet where I put my toilet paper. I just put it here.
That's not what it looks like to me, but okay.
Well, it works for a lot of things.
That's right.
It has a lot of bass and treble.
Yeah, and it has an on-off button.
Yeah. My girlfriend uses it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's always unplugged.
But why do you have a big fancy one? And where are you from? I'm sorry, Bobby. I have to know.
No, I've been just kind of like, I've been ordering a lot of food online. I mean, so I feel like I'm a drug dealer because every time like people come over and drop the food, I'm like, leave the food and get the fuck out of here, because like I don't want them to touch the food. So I've been doing that, and and to answer your questions, Carol, I was born in Venezuela, but then I grew up in Maryland and went through a major in finance, international business, but now I've been doing comedy for 11 years.
Oh.
But you look like you're like a teenager who just grew a beard.
Right.
Yes. This is my quarantine. I mean, I don't know if you can actually see the tape. I don't know. It's like after the podcast is done, I just go like this.
You know what? I was an economics major with theater. I wanted to be in finance too.
Really?
The best comedians have financial brains because they know that they're not just going to be an idiot about getting paid.
That's true. I mean, I think that's why, like, in a way, I'm like, well, I can survive this quarantine because I got I just saved, knowing that, like, it's like, just don't finance, like, you don't spend. The first rule, don't invest if you don't have the money. That's the first rule of finance.
Especially if you're poor from New York. You don't spend it if you don't have it.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing? Francisco, what have you been doing?
Well, I've been doing a lot of podcasts, that's why I got the mic. Because I've been not doing, I'm going to do actually my first Zoom stand-up show tomorrow. So Caroline, how'd it go for you? Because I haven't, it's my first one that I'm going to do. So
I've done 2. For my birthday, I did like a benefit for Comedy Gives Back to give money for our community, for the people who've lost money. And that one I did on Instagram. And Zoom is much better. Just literally do your act. And the one that the club I did this weekend, it was another benefit. You could actually hear laughter, which almost threw me. I was like, Is that the sound of like happiness and joy? So just, I mean, I'm very like, I like to connect with the Zoom. So I would.
Oh, that worked. That was great timing. I like to connect with the Zoom. Boom.
Goes again. You know, that drinking problem, it has an effect on it.
Francisco, can you do stand up in English and Spanish? That's the coolest thing in the world.
I was just telling Bobby that I actually do a monthly, used to do a monthly show at the Improv with 2 of my other friends who also do stand up in English and Spanish. And we just do it in Spanish. And it's great because, I mean, I learned, obviously my first language is Spanish, but I learned stand up in English. So it's kind of like now I have to go because I feel more comfortable doing stand up in English for sure. So for me to do stand up in Spanish, it's like me going like my first year or second year of stand up of kind of like, let's see if this works. It's like slower. Like I don't have that quickness that I have in English.
Spanish 1, 5 years, New York. Hola, Isabel. ¿Cómo estás?
that's 5 years.
Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú?
Oh, that's good. So Isabel is yourself because you answer yourself.
Biblioteca. I don't know.
I once went to Mexico with this friend of mine, and she spoke Spanish in as equally offensive an accent, and she would say grassy ass, like people would be checking their pants, and I'd be like, oh Lord, this is very horrendous.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, it's a cool thing because I feel like it's just getting bigger and bigger now in Latin America. So it's kind of like Spanish, right? Or stand up in Spanish is kind of like what the 70s of stand up was when it first started.
Okay, now you have to talk to Bobby. I'm not that old. I'm a 19.
Okay.
I started in the 90s. Bobby started in the 40s.
Oh,
yes,
you were in the Catskills.
I got to tell you, Caroline, you'll like that. Every time I'm working on something here in California, and if I have to run down to a club, I run down to Hermosa Comedy and Magic. You know, right. Richie and Mike down there, Bobby. I go, can I do a little? Yeah, anything you want. And when I'm down there, I run into this guy, Francisco Ramos. There's not many people, Caroline. You know, we know comics and we love them all. We're circus people. We're carny. When he gets on the stage, I sit there and he cracks me up. He's funny. I like funny.
Yes. But let's go back. So you started at the Catskills?
Bobby, what was your first gig?
Oh, I
think I saw you in Dirty Dancing.
See, here he goes. Another wise ass. I started in New York City at Catch a Rising Star.
Oh, wow.
And so did I, but a few years apart.
Right.
Who were the guys that were there? Or were they like, when you started, like, who were the big guys or big, you know?
When I was dating, I was working during the day for Calvin Klein, but when I was dating, I would take girls to Catch a Rising Star because that's what I wanted to, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And oh God, everyone from Chico and the Man, what was his name?
Oh, Freddie Prinze.
Freddie Prinze, David Brenner, all these guys, Robin Williams. I would go in there and just watch. And I said, I got to do this. And I remember going over to a bartender there. And I go, how does this work? How do I sign up? He goes, Mondays, 4:00. Got to get online outside. Monday, 4:00. And I got there Monday, got online. By the time I got up, because a lot of well-known guys stop in and they go on before you, I think it was the cleaning crew and the chef was going home. And I was like, hey, and I was lucky. And they liked me and I stayed there. And that's how I started. How about you, Caroline?
My graduating class of comedians is Jeff Lifschultz, who is now Jeff Ross.
Right.
The beloved roast master. He's
that's
John
his real
Stewart.
Last name?
Yeah, John Stewart was John Abramowitz. He was a couple of years ahead of me too.
Like Jews or us.
Laura Keitlinger, Janine Garofalo, Margaret Cho, Wendy Liebman, Judy Gold. That's my graduating class. I can't think of the boys. Oh, David Tell.
Oh, Dave.
And I remember being at Catch a Rising Star, and Lewis said, Cara, you got to see this kid. He's coming up from Philadelphia. He's 19. He's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. And of course, it was Dave Chappelle.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he was.
Wow.
But I remember when I first started at Catch, if there were like 3 people left in the room, 2 comics,
Right.
and they're both brilliant, but they would drive them out of the room. It would be Chris Rock and Adam Sandler.
Right.
You never wanted to follow them late at night because they'd be like, no, wait. I mean, they're brilliant.
Right.
But it was, you know what? It's such a funny time. It's really, I miss those times. And I was so sad when they closed Catch. And then they turned it into like 70s disco place.
I know.
Why did they close Catch Rising Star? It's another podcast.
Okay.
Oh, God. And when I graduated from there, Jerry Seinfeld, all of us, we were all together.
I'm being heckled by my child.
Francisco.
Get off the stage.
Francisco, when did you start?
I started at the Comedy Store when the Comedy Store wasn't big or popular as it is right now. So I actually started doing open mics there, and then I worked there. So I worked as a door guy for two years. So that's how I kind of like learned how to do stand-up, and then I got passed, and then but yeah, it was like between 2008, 7, 8, for like 2 years until I got passed.
So you knew Mitzi?
I only met her when, but I met her, but she was almost towards the last part of her, staging her life. Right, so like, she wouldn't like, I remember like the guy who was the manager, he's like, hey, Mitzi, this is Francisco. He just started working here. And she was like, she wouldn't say too much and just kind of like gave me like the Yoda thing. And I was like, oh, great. Hi, Mitzi.
That's how she was. Oh, hi. Yeah. How you doing? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, if we weren't doing comedy, I know it's hard to even think out of the old blueprint, but what would we be doing? What would you be doing?
Oh, can I go first, please?
Go ahead.
I would not be a teacher.
Francisco.
I mean, I think I'd be, I guess I was been working on the finance stuff, but been, because that's what I graduated, but been miserable about it. Kind of like just being like not happy with the life of like, I probably had like be divorced already, like 2 times.
How did we know? I mean, when I was a kid, I just knew I was going to be a comedian. And
that never happened to me. People
have said to me, do you think comics have something that's broken about them, and by being funny, it's a way of healing? I go, no. I think I just always wanted to make people laugh and feel good. How about you guys?
I think there are different categories. I think I'm like you. I just want to be like the girl who like makes everybody laugh. I want to be the one that and everybody's included. But there are a lot of guys who didn't get a lot of action in high school who are now making up for it. I believe. Right. They, you know what I mean? Like they have that. I don't know. What do you think, Francisco?
No, I'm the same way. I always wanted to be. I was like a straight student, but I always got in trouble because I would talk a lot because I always wanted to make my friends laugh and make fun of people and all this stuff. Right. So that was me, and that was all and yeah, it's weird because when I moved here, I always learned, the history of stand-up, and the people that I met were people like, oh, you have to like you don't have your parents left you, or you came from a really bad family. So I was like, I'm like, I don't have that. I'm like, I have a good family. Like, am I not a good stand-up because I lived fine? I don't know. So it was always weird to me to be like, nah, can I just be funny?
Right. I've seen so many comics over the years, and Caroline, who committed suicide, who have left us, for whatever personal reasons they've had. And I was like, when somebody asked me, are they broken? I go, some are just like anyone else, But
well, I think some of them have suffered terribly with either like mental health issues and depression, and somehow processed it that way. But also, I mean, yeah, we've lost some really great comedians.
No, and comedy was their outlet, making people laugh.
And do you think it also has to do with the fact that when comedy earlier, it wasn't seen as such a career or making money thing? So people, it was more like loose, more like, hey, I can drink, I can do coke, I can do whatever because it's fine. But now it's more like, oh, you can actually make a lot of money doing stand-up and podcasts. It's more like a career. So people are more professional, because that's what I see now. More comics, the younger comics are more like, oh, I don't drink. I eat very well. I stay in shape. You know, I go to therapy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've done stand-up for 30 years. I made one CD. I followed a guy who's been doing it for 5 years, and he listed his 6 albums. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Is it just every word?
I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying they're good. They'll probably be healthy, but they're not good.
How many have you made, Francisco?
No, only one, and I did it like last year or a year ago. And yeah, I've never. Yeah, I don't. It's funny because I grew up like the way that I saw comedy and I read and studied. I think I would have been. I grew up like if it was like during the 90s comedy. Like I was like, oh, I just gotta get up on the Tonight Show, and then that's it. So I was like that.
Right.
So I wasn't so much into the social media. So it was weird for me to be like, because I'm no social media, but I wasn't born into it.
Right.
You know.
We lost Caroline.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Oh my God! Did you fall again?
Okay, can I tell you something funny? Not only like I'm only social media is so not anything to me. I'm sort of getting that. I got the hang of Twitter a little bit. Right. And then when I was a kid, we lived next to this family, and the oldest boy, his name was Andrew Black, and his oldest sister's name was Willa. I probably shouldn't give you the real names.
All right.
And this is in the 70s, and he did the rottenest thing. He stole his sister's diary and made copies of it and sold it to everyone in his class for $1. Okay. When we were children, that was just horrifying. Today, we call that Facebook, Instagram, the things people share and connect over.
I don't get it. Yeah.
I don't want to see. I don't want to hear that much detail over someone's foot surgery.
Yeah.
Like my sister. I just called my daughter my sister. I just called you my sister. Anyway, so if I don't have my reading glasses on, like when Ava was born, you know, my mother was like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful," and I'm like, "Her head is too big," and my mother was like, "Take off your reading glasses." And she was looking at my phone, and I had gotten this job, and so I was very happy about it. So I'd sent like 20, thumbs up emojis, and Ava goes, "Mommy, that's very rude what you did." And I'm like, "What did I do?" She goes, "You sent 20 times." And I was like,
fuck you.
I got the job. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to take it.
Was anybody else? Was anybody else in your family funny?
I'm the least funny person in my family.
Really?
Oh my God. My parents were hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. My sisters are so funny. I'm like, I just had no other skills. It was either I was going to be a banker or a comedian. And I really was lucky because I wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to be a host, and I wanted to host a game show, and I've gotten to do the majority of it. So I was lucky. What about you? Is anybody?
Francisco.
Bobby,
Yeah.
I can't believe you were in the schmata business.
Yes.
How did I not know that?
Yes. One day I was selling jewelry door to door at the garment center. You remember when women wore those gold chains and all that?
Yes. On 47th Street on Diamond Road?
Oh, yes, 47th Street. And a friend turned me onto it. I was making great money. And next thing you know, I was selling at Calvin Klein, and the guys stopped me with security, and they go, what are you doing? I handed them my card. I go, I come here every week for all the ladies and all the showrooms. Retail jewelry at wholesale prices. That was my motto. And said, no, we want to come in. Can you come in and talk to us? I go, no, I'm good. I'll give you a piece of jewelry. You're being nice. And the guy said, no, we want to talk to you about a job. And in my head, I'm going, ugh, to sell this? And I said, to sell this stuff? I wouldn't want to do this. And then the guy said to me, I go, what do you pay? And at that time, everyone from college was graduating making 26, 27,000. I was offered $58,000. I said,
Wow.
I'll do it. And I did it for about, I'd say 11 months.
I have a question for you both. Less so since I've become a mother, and because I'm on a TV show and I act, so I have another job. But don't you find you get quite depressed if you go a certain amount of time without doing stand-up?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, it was always, especially when I first started, it was always like, oh, I'm going to get really bad if I don't go in a week to go up, and I would be like, oh, right. Now it's different because now I know, the more you do it now, it's like, okay, now I know how to do it. So I don't feel that bad, but it's still that itch of kind of like, I feel like I always said it's like a drug addict. Like I was like, I need to get on stage. Come on, give me 5 minutes. Come on.
It is. It's a total addiction.
Comedy, I miss it to pieces. And
I keep on saying, how much longer is self-reflection camp? Could my mother come and pick me up, please?
Thank you. And I'll walk right alongside of you.
Now, you know what I want to do though, Bobby? This is what I really think, because I believe that comedians more than any other group, like people's careers, people who work on the road wiped out.
Yeah.
Like you've been doing this forever and ever, but there are youngins or people who that's the only way they make money.
I know. So, what do they do now?
Well, they can get grants that comedy gives back.
Yeah, but I think that's hopefully a thing that people have or learning now, that it's like you can't. It's like you can't be like a one-trick pony. You got to do other stuff. Because if you, like right now, if you can't, because especially right now, I don't know if the last thing that's going to be able to be back to normal are shows. So it's like, how are we going to be able? It's going to be months and months until we able to perform, and if it's going to be weird, are you going to wear a mask? Are people going to wear masks? Are they going to be separate? So
who knew that the most foreshadowing show would be The Masked Singer? Like,
yeah.
Everyone's like, you are kidding me. The most ridiculous show in the world. Now it's like, oh no, it's going to be the masked comedian. It's going to be the masked doctor. It's going to just be everybody.
I had an agent call up, Caroline, you'll like this, Francisco, will call me up. They go, Bobby, this summer, I go, I'm out 4 months already. I go, that's a lot of money. That's my family. I have a home. I got to pay, And he said, I know, but would you consider doing drive-ins? I go, drive-ins? What's that? He goes, when you drive up and they hook the speaker in and they pull up a truck up front and with a microphone and all that. I go, that sounds weird. That sounds really crazy, because the drive-in people are really starting to push that.
No, I think drive-ins are like, seriously, I think that's the greatest idea. I'm thinking, where could I buy a drive-in?
Right. Is that amazing?
I don't want a club. Where do I get my own drive-in?
So I said, sure. I go, I'll do it. If, August. I got a call from a couple of theaters now saying, Bobby, for November, December already. Look at that.
I know. I had a bunch of work pushed by a year. I'm like,
is that right?
Okay, no problem. In this stable time, Ava said, so Ava's like, there are obviously like huge silver linings to this terrible situation that we're in. But, being with my child all the time is the most entertaining. So the other day she just yells at me. She goes, Mommy, if you get hit by an ambulance, do they call another ambulance, or do they just throw you in the back?
Smart.
That is true. I do give to you parents right now, because just being, I live with my girlfriend and a dog and a cat, and that's a lot, so like for you to add a kid, to be like, hey, entertain me. It's kind of like, wow, that's,
give me some fun road stories. We all got them. Let me have some fun road stories.
Go ahead, Francisco. You start.
Good or bad? Who cares?
Yeah. No, I'm trying to. It's been so long to think about it. I'm so out of stand-up, and I'm like, I don't even think about it. Oh God. Man.
All right, you think I'm starting? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, I'm at a dinner. It's in New York. It's in the early 90s, and at the dinner is Jim Carrey, Ben Stiller, Laura Keitlinger, Janine Garofalo, myself, and Andy Nelman. Who Andy? So sorry. Andy
Oh shit!
started-
Virus!
Okay, God has to come up with a distinction for two things. One, a cough that is from allergies and a cough from corona, and a font on Twitter that when people are trending, they are not dead. Those are the two things that we need to come up with.
That's true.
Finish the story. I want to hear the story.
Okay, so Andy Nelman, Francisco, Andy he started Just for Laughs in Montreal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have you gone to that yet?
Yeah, I went a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Did you love it? That's where I'm from.
It was.
Montreal.
I mean, so I actually did the ethnic show. So for that show, you go like I was there like almost a month. So I was there like 3 weeks or before the actual festival started. So it was even better because I got to experience the city and do shows as well, but also like until it got crazy that last week where it's just nuts. I do miss talking with comics because I mean, my friends, I call them normal and they're not comics. So I think I'm getting more in trouble with them because I'm trying to talk to them like comics. So they get mad or they get too serious about stuff.
I know.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I'm
They're
joking about the
civilians.
corona and stuff like that. And I got a friend who's like, oh, I can't talk. Left the chat. It's like, I can't deal, and I'm like, what? And I think it's because I miss talking to comics who we don't care. Like we just make fun of everything. And
Right.
I posted a picture of myself on Instagram with a bra on my face. I just thought it was funny. People who I've met twice were reaching out to me. They're like, "Are you all right? Is it getting to you?" I'm trying to make you laugh. I'm totally fine. I have a bra on my face.
I do want to share a roast story quickly that I remember. I was doing,
and then I'll finish mine. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Go ahead, young.
No,
young
I do.
Young.
I did one of those. I did my first, time and that I did a cruise. I had never done a cruise before. I did it in Alaska, one of those Alaska cruises.
Mhm.
And I never did a cruise before, which first of all, I didn't realize for me, it was like I never been in prison, but I felt like I was in prison for like white collar crime. I was like, oh, okay, this is like
Right.
insider fraud. But it was just, and it was so many, and it was like, also the crowd was like very, mostly like older people. Yes.
Right.
So I remember I had to do like a show, it was like a full theater and it was only like 200 people all spread out, kids in the front. And I'm like, it's like going, you gotta do 45 minutes. And I'm going like, oh my God.
Oh shit.
And then I remember when I went to the buffet thing and I'm sitting there and one girl, like an 11 or 12-year-old girl comes and she's like, hey, that was funny. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I was like, hey, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, and she's like, oh, I only follow celebrities. Bye. And I was like, and I just, and I was like, I'm about to jump off the. I was like, oh.
I once had to open you'll appreciate this, Bobby, in like one of the Catskill hotels, Little Miss Waspy Canadian. And first of all, the guy who opened for me sang, from Don Quixote, to dream the impossible dream.
You dream.
And and it is nothing but elderly Jewish people. And the audible sound of disappointment when I spoke. I'm not kidding. It was as if I had yelled, the brisket is fresh. I've never seen more people storm out of a room and I'm not kidding you. They put my picture up in the diner on the way in because I followed Carmen Raguzzi, from Laverne and Shirley. By the time I left, the picture was down. I've never bombed that much.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Have you ever bombed, Francisco?
Yeah, I did. I mean, my first truly bomb, like what I was like, the ones that use. It was like I first started and first time I did a show, I was at a club and they're like, hey, go up. And I did 5, and it was like, just do 5 minutes. And I went up and I did my first thing and it just didn't hit at all. It was just complete silence.
What was the joke?
I don't remember at all what the joke was. I just remember just like, wow. And then all of a sudden it just silence. And somebody started giving me the light right away after 2 minutes. So I got off. And you know how comics would you never they never tell you never get told by a comic that you suck, but the way that it's because they don't talk to you. It's like I had leprosy, so nobody wanted to talk to me. I wanted to like talk to somebody, and then like
I know.
and so I had to like leave, and like the best thing to do is like the next day I got up at an open mic or whatever or something, and I got laughed.
Have you done the Edinburgh Festival? Have you done
I haven't
Edinburgh
done that
Festival?
one.
Have you done it, Bobby?
What's that?
The Edinburgh Festival?
No.
Okay, it's for Scottish. Like, I'm Scottish. Everyone
Right.
looks like me. They're all doughy and cartilage based, and like.
Then I love them.
Look like their cheeks go like this, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, people say that I look a lot like you do," and I'm like, "You do look like me, but you also look like a snowman and a baby." Okay? So there's this show, and they're so mean, and they just can't be bothered. They literally have an expression in Scotland, "Nae bother." Like they're like about to laugh, and they're like, "Nae bother," and they're so tough, and they write reviews of your stand-up. You're like, what are you doing? This is my stand-up. What are you writing a review for? And like, anyway, 5 stars in the paper, but whatever. Who cares about those things? So anyway, and I went into this department store. I was making my friend laugh, and I said, I was trying on a dress, and I said to the sales lady, I go, "Is this too big on me?" And she said, "Quite the opposite, madam. Quite the opposite." But they have this show called Late and oh God, it's at 2:30 in the morning every night of the festival, and it's like going on a bucking bronco. It's nothing but drunk 19-year-old boys. Like, you feel sick even before you go on,
Right.
And that has broken and killed more comics. And I remember, oh God, just bad.
I heard you, Francisco, talk about years ago, me and John Panette, another good guy.
Yeah.
And they came to us. This is when cruise ships had singers. And they asked us if we would be interested in performing on a cruise ship. And I'm from New York. He's from Boston. How much? And it was a lot of money then. I heard it's changed tremendously now. But we were getting I think they're going to pay you a lot now if you're willing to get on a cruise.
Yeah,
right. But I'll never forget my first time, and you were talking about it, Francisco. They said this was the time when they were like really old that would take cruise ships.
Oh, they're still.
And now they were trying to make the transition over to young. So they wanted to get in the young, hipper comics. So, but they paid us a lot, and you were allowed to bring your family, that you got a guest cabin. Plus
you'd be perfect for you. You're like the perfect, both of you guys were perfect for that.
Oh, so the first time I walked out on the stage, they had oxygen masks, they had walkers, and the MC or the guy, the cruise director, he says, "Listen, they're a little old, but you have enough experience, you could work them." I walked out, I looked at the audience, I looked around, I was in shock. I went, "Why don't we join hands and see if we can contact the living?" Oh my God. I got such shit for saying that after.
That's hilarious.
That's such a great line.
Yeah.
That is great. But the worst about being a cruise is like you do that and then you got to be there for 4 days.
They see you.
And they see you again. It's like,
and they want to talk. I don't want to talk.
Yeah. And they come back to see the same show. I'm like, I'm doing this. They're like, "Oh, you did the same." Yeah, it's been a week. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not a for comics who do it, I respect it, but it's not for me. I can't. It's just not. It would have to be the cruise that were like, I don't know, only people come see me. I don't know, but if it's just part of the cruise, it's not for me. I can't do it.
Caroline, how can people get in touch with you? Instagram, Facebook, I don't know. How?
You know what? My friend June, she bought my name on Instagram or whatever and so I couldn't use Caroline Rhea because she couldn't remember the email that she signed up with. So I'm Caroline Rhea and then the number 4 and real. Oh. Caroline Rhea for real.
Okay.
What are you, Francisco?
Oh, I'm actually the person who bought the Caroline Rhea. That's my
funny, very quick.
See, Caroline, all the boys.
You know, in the old days, we'd be like, oh, maybe he can open for us. No, now we'd be opening for him.
No, I'm on Instagram at F Ramos Comedy, on Twitter at Francisco Ramos. And also quickly, if you guys on Netflix, I'm in a show called Gentefied. If you can watch it, it's a great show because hopefully, you know, the more people watch it, hopefully they get a second season so I can have a job in that show. Because I'm not going to be doing that much stand-up, so people can watch that.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys. And Caroline, for stepping up, honey. It's always I fell in love with you years ago.
I love you, Bobby.
So much. I love you.
Call me.
Francisco, I'll see you down at
nice to meet you.
I'll
Great.
see you at Hermosa. And you can follow me at bobbycollins.com. and the Bobby Collins on Instagram. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Bobby's Viral Friends on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much. And keep in mind, laughter is the best medicine.